Hello and welcome to episode 251 of Sutton Impact Family Style. I'm Jason.
Bill, and based upon yesterday, seeding can go out the window when your two number one seeds both go down. And Jason, I talked offline. I wouldn't be surprised if the two number one seeds go down today. So it could be
the
really,
two higher
really
seeds, yeah.
interesting football.
Yeah, I were you more surprised with the Green Bay loss or the Tennessee loss?
I was more surprised with the Green Bay loss,
I was too.
and I was shocked that Aaron Rodgers didn't throw a touchdown pass.
No, not one.
Not one. I mean, that just blows me away. I was not shocked that the Bengals beat Tennessee because Tennessee's been inconsistent all year. And Tannehill's a very inconsistent quarterback.
He is, but they started 91 players, which is the most in history. They still got the number one seed despite of that. They beat Buffalo, Kansas City. They had some really big wins on there, despite missing all those players. And then you had A.J. Brown back. You had Julio Jones back. I don't think you really had Derrick Henry back. Like, I know he scored a touchdown, but he did not, to me, look like Derrick Henry.
That was his first game coming back.
Yeah.
He needed to play in shape. The other guy looked pretty good. Had that 70-yard run.
Yeah, he's done really well filling in. I mean, our coach in Pittsburgh is always saying next man up, but Tennessee actually really did embody next man up.
Yeah, but Tennessee just made some, they lose games they shouldn't lose.
It's true.
And that's kind of been their pattern all year, and that's probably what happened yesterday. I mean, they sacked Joe Burrow 9 times. 9.
Yeah.
And they still lose. I mean, that's pretty incredible. And they give up 1 touchdown. And, you do everything you think you're going to do. And, I just don't understand. I mean, that team's better than they performed.
And obviously,
but
since
the Bengals are hot.
And I know Bengals won that game, but what do you think of the controversial interception? I thought he caught it. I liked it.
I thought he caught it too. I didn't think that once they ruled an interception, there was not enough there to overrule it. You couldn't overrule it.
No, and even if it,
I was glad to see they stuck with the call.
Yeah, and even if it tiny scraped it just looked like, to me, that's a catch. Like, I feel like there's, you can define a catch as much as you want, but sometimes, like, your eyes just tell you that's a catch. And I thought that was a catch. An incredible play.
Yeah.
And in the other game, San Francisco doesn't score an offensive touchdown.
No. But the defense plays really, really well. And again, Aaron Rodgers does not throw a touchdown pass. He said he's probably the league MVP. He's had an amazing year. His last 12 games were unconscious. And that was their kind of weather last night. I just, it's kind of hard to fathom.
Like, I know everybody said this was, of the teams in the playoffs, Green Bay playing at home, San Francisco was the worst matchup. But you hold San Francisco's offense and Deebo Samuel down to no touchdowns, just 2 field goals. And you can't muster anything other than that opening drive with A.J. Dillon's touchdown.
Yeah.
And San Francisco
it looked like they were going to get down and score the second time, too.
Yeah.
In a second possession. And then, really blocking that field goal at the end of the half was a real momentum changer.
Yeah. I mean, they always say all 3 phases of the game, and San Francisco's special teams clearly brought it yesterday, as well as the defense. But, 2 walk-off field goals to knock out the 1 seeds.
Yeah.
And this is the first time in, like, over 2 decades that both 1 seeds are out in their first game.
It's pretty incredible. And so now you've got, the Bills playing for home field, which would be decisive.
Everyone's playing for home field in the AFC today because Cincinnati's the lowest seed. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, if the Bills win and Cincinnati has to go to Buffalo, that, again, could be like a Green Bay kind of a game with the weather playing a huge factor. And the other one, I mean, if you're the 49ers, you're either going to play in Tampa or you're going to play in LA.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're going to play in great weather regardless. So the NFC Championship's going to be in great weather.
And I think at this point, just like I said, based on, no Chris Godwin, no Antonio Brown, their defense, I mean, the Tampa Bay run defense has gone in the toilet. Like, I'm sure both teams would much rather play Tampa Bay, as crazy as that sounds now, given they're the Super Bowl champion. I mean,
that's why I think we're going to see that San Francisco-LA rematch that we just had a couple weeks ago.
And I think
we're going to see that.
I know he hasn't said anything, and I know he said he's going to play till he's 45 or 50, but I do feel like this season's been a lot on Brady. and he's got the media company, he's got other stuff going. Like, I feel like at any point it could be Tom Brady's last game.
Well, there's a big article in the Tampa paper this morning saying that if they thought if he wins, that he'll go out.
Yeah, I think if he wins the Super Bowl, but I could almost see him going out regardless. Because I mean, I think Gronk is maybe he's in the list of best football players of my lifetime. He's clearly the best tight end I've ever seen. But I don't know if he'd come back next year. Antonio Brown's not coming back next year. Godwin's coming off an injury and he's a free agent next year. I don't think you can keep that whole team together for. I mean, I think it was a miracle they kept all those guys together after the Super Bowl. But cap wise, I mean, I don't think the situation in Tampa next year was the situation he stepped into. And I'd be nervous if I was him going back to Tampa. And then you saw the bizarre news from out of New Orleans today, right?
No, I did not.
Sean Payton has not informed the team that he's coming back next year. Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, this is you're coming back to a team that, your only quarterback on your roster. You have the rookie out of Notre Dame who was absolutely trash. And the 31-year-old Taysom Hill who, his contract is more incentive-based if he actually gets to play quarterback. Michael Thomas is probably on the way out. I mean, it's probably not you're probably looking at a rebuild down in New Orleans,
Yeah, and there's a lot of NFL jobs open right now.
There are. And a lot of NFL jobs with, a bright young quarterback sitting there for you to jump in, win with.
Yeah.
Because I was saying, like, right now, if you look at quarterbacks just under 30 in the AFC, some of these guys are under 25. You've got the incredible Josh Allen. Yeah, you got Burrow, Mahomes, and Josh Allen, who you feel like are going to run the AFC for the next decade, assuming they all stay healthy. Then right beneath them, you've got former MVP Lamar Jackson. You've got Zach Wilson and Lawrence, who, showed a little bit of signs and sparks, are still, top 2 picks from a year ago. And I mean, that's a pretty steep group of quarterbacks,
Yeah.
And you still have I guess I'm disrespecting, but Mac Jones played pretty well for a rookie. And
yeah.
I mean, if I'm a team and I'm looking, Justin Herbert, I can't believe I forgot Justin Herbert. You need a great quarterback to compete, and if I'm in the AFC, that's 9 guys right there that are pretty daunting. And obviously those first 3 just being absolute studs. I mean, Herbert looks incredible when he plays, but his team's going to have some more success before we put him in that category.
Yeah, I like watching them.
Yeah.
So I noticed you didn't say Tua.
I did not say Tua. I'm off the Tua bandwagon.
Okay.
It's crazy that it was an entire season of, tank for Tua. And they thought he was a slightly more athletic Drew Brees coming out of Nick Saban's offense. And, I can't put him in that category of somebody I'd like to. I mean, as a Steeler fan, I don't know where he ranks if I'd even want him,
Yeah, I mean, you got Jalen Hurst and you got Tua, both coming out of that system, and Mac Jones looks like maybe the better of the 3.
And again, there's been so many of those little like throwaway lines that, receivers have said about them. And it sounds like they all loved Mac Jones the most, which is pretty telling. And then the other guy we're not mentioning, obviously, in the AFC currently is Deshaun Watson. Because I don't know what that situation is.
Or Baker Mayfield.
Or Baker Mayfield for good reason. And I guess Davis Mills you could throw in the just who knows category. But I thought about this the other day. Like, clearly, this will be our Steeler minute, as we're still in the NFL. We have a pretty quarterback-starved team right now. We have a lot of issues all over both sides of the ball, but we definitely need a quarterback of the future. And despite being one of the most talented players of the position and only being, I think, 26 years old, I don't think I'd want to root for Deshaun Watson. I mean, the Steelers don't have the assets really to go get him,
No. They have too many other problems to fix first.
They have a lot of other problems to fix, but when I look into that situation, like I said, if it was, one incident, I mean, not that makes you innocent, but 27 is a lot. And it's daunting that he would do those. And even the things he's admitted to doing make me uncomfortable as far as somebody I'd want to root for. Now,
Well, the Steelers have $42 million in cap room.
Yes.
And they got a lot of things they need to fix, and I don't. I think drafting a quarterback this year is probably a year too early.
I think if somehow, and again, their playoff win took them from potentially picking out of like right around between 8 and 12 to picking 20th. If somehow with the 20th pick of the second round, if Malik Willis or Matt Corral was still on the board,
They showing Matt Corral going. I've seen Matt Corral go be the first guy off the board,
yeah,
and I've seen one of the guys giving him the Steelers at 20.
I based on raw potential and somewhat based on Tomlin saying how much he wants a quarterback that can run. Because he's mentioned that in multiple press conferences. One that can move, one that can run, one that can use his feet. That's the future of the league.
Mm-hmm.
I really like Malik Willis. And he struggled against some big competition this year, but so did Ben Roethlisberger in the year before they drafted him. But he struggled a little more than I was happy with. But if he's in the second round, I'd be very excited about Malik Willis. But at 20, I still feel like that might be a little high. But I've also seen him go into like Washington at 15. So
They have him going in the last. If he goes in the first round, they have him in one of the last 3 picks I've seen in here.
okay.
They don't have him high.
I feel like because I've seen an interview with him, he's pretty, he's well spoken. He seems like a coach kind of guy, and then he's gonna run a 4.5 40, and he's got a live NFL arm, and you're already hearing some Josh Allen comparisons and some other things, but people have pointed out Josh Allen played in Wyoming, which was a pro system where he had to read the entire field, and Malik Willis played in a much more college oriented one where he's only reading half the field, and they thought that he took off with his legs a little bit too much, but. People want dynamic.
When they list the quarterbacks again on the crawl, I'll let you know. But they had the Steelers taking Charles Tucker out of Mississippi State in the first round of tackle. And then the very next pick is the Patriots pick, and they take the big nose tackle out of Georgia.
Well, as we continue our NFL minute, Tyson Alou will lose that he wants to come back next year.
Yes.
And honestly, if Tuitt comes back, that change. I mean, if those two come back.
I don't think Tuitt's coming. They're not going to pay Tuitt that kind of money to miss half the games he plays. And he's played like 21 out of 49 games.
You think they're just going to cut him?
Yeah, I think they're going to cut him.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the. But with that $42 million, you also have to make a decision on Minka Fitzpatrick, which I think you sign him because I think he's incredible.
Yep, I think they'll sign Minka Fitzpatrick.
And then you got to make a decision on Deontay Johnson pretty soon too, and I don't know what to do with that one.
He's too inconsistent for me, but I've said that all year.
I mean, he had a really nice year, and he's very dynamic with the ball in his hands. But you watch that Kansas City game, and they're probably going to lose that no matter what. But when it was 7-0, he dropped like 3 or 4 different passes that, I mean, maybe they still lose 42-28, but it felt like there were chances for the Steelers to get a little momentum going, and he dropped, right in his hands passes. I had him in fantasy, and I gave him up for almost nothing, just because I didn't like having to have somebody like that on my team.
No, he's inconsistent. I had Dak for my quarterback, and he's inconsistent. I mean, you want consistency. So who do you like? Do you like the 2 road teams today, or are you split?
I like the Chiefs.
You like the Chiefs? Do you like the Rams, or do you like the Bucks?
I like the Rams. I just think there's something wrong with the Bucks right now.
And I just think the Rams are playing better now. I think that this is their time. I think they're playing really, really well.
And I think the Rams are better at every position. Pretty much. I mean, obviously tight end, I'm always going to give Gronk the love. But, quarterback is the big one. And Stafford is physically capable of doing everything on a football field. He can make all the throws. He can look absolutely fantastic like he did last week. But, I mean, he's obviously, it's when you're the quarterback, you can never really be an X factor. But if it was somebody slightly more consistent, I would have picked, there'd be no question I'd go with the Rams. But I'm picking the Rams. But the Chiefs, I just feel like they've won like 11 of their last 12 games. Their offense is starting to click again. And I think, I don't really think Mahomes likes to hear all the, Josh Allen is the best quarterback in the AFC NFL talk.
Yeah. And see, I like the Rams because Odell has been taking on more and more now each week.
Yeah.
And Odell, Cooper Kupp, and Jefferson is pretty strong.
Cooper Kupp is just another shout out to that dude.
Yeah, he's ridiculous.
And, again, he just gets open.
Consistently.
Yeah. Wide open. And it's shocking, but he does. Yeah, and Odell is starting, he seems like he's found his niche. He's back playing,
Yeah.
confident football again. And it's still bizarre that he and Baker couldn't figure out how to at least be slightly consistent. But, as a Steeler fan, I'm excited Baker's going to be the quarterback again next year, apparently.
Yeah. I don't have any problems with that either.
No. Joe Burrow and
I
more.
have a lot of problems with Joe Burrow being the Bengals quarterback.
Yeah. And Jamar Chase being on his wide receiver. But yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we can switch to little hoops.
Yeah, let's talk some hoops.
You want to start in Los
Frank
Angeles?
Vogel back on the hot seat.
Yeah. And, I mean, as great as, LeBron James is on the court, he's a terrible GM, and you could argue that he torpedoes a lot of franchises and just walks away. Like, he gets all the people he wants, and when it doesn't work, everybody's going to get blamed. It's not LeBron James. And, he wanted Russ, he wanted Carmelo, and, it is what it is. But, I mean, as Charles Barkley said, you can't really blame Russ, because Russ is who he is and who he's been. And I know he's been on an absolute cold streak lately, but he's still, he's Russ. And you traded for Anthony Davis, and you tied your horses to Anthony Davis, and Anthony Davis is going to do Anthony Davis stuff. He's going to miss a lot of games.
Yeah.
And he's going to disappear, and as good as he can be and as great as he was on that finals run in the bubble, he disappears a lot. Mm-hmm. Do you want to would you fire Vogel?
Well, I mean, they won 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Malik Willis going to the Lions.
Okay.
Via the Rams pick. And I know we said we'd get back to this. Kenny Pickett was 9 going to Denver. And Corral was 11 going to the Redskins. Or the Washington Football Club, excuse me.
Yes, who are going to have a new name, apparently.
Yes.
That the players say is absolute
First week
fire.
of February.
Yeah.
I don't know about, Frank Vogel, I mean, he's a good coach. That's a tough team to coach.
Very.
Any team with LeBron on is a tough team to coach.
And a team where Anthony Davis has only played like 13 games this year.
And you've got a team with, that's distinctively the oldest team in the NBA.
Oh, yeah.
They all have their own opinions. They all have their own styles. You almost have to be Merlin to coach that team.
And Frank Vogel's a defensive coach, and you don't have,
You don't have defense.
You traded away guys like Caruso and Kyle Kuzma, who, are both playing really well right now, and KCP, and guys that knew, could just fit in and do what they're supposed to do. And Russ has never been good on defense, and that's kind of baffling. Because you've been around sports your entire life. Like, it always feels like if you're a good athlete, you should be good on defense. If you want to be. Like, I know there's different levels of defense where you've just got that natural, Dennis Rodman, where position where the balls come off the board. But just as far as staying in front of your man and not being lackadaisical and leaving guys wide open like Russ does, like, it's kind of baffling.
Well, maybe he's picked up a lot of Carmelo's habits since their teammates now.
Maybe.
But it's going to be an interesting playoff. Because there's some tough outs. I mean, I don't know if I'd want to play the Cavaliers in the first round of the playoffs.
I would not want to play the Cavs.
They play a lot of defense. They're fast. And if they didn't lose their 2-point guards, who knows where they would be. I mean, they could really make a lot of noise in the playoffs. And I don't know if either of those guys, I think Ricky Rubio is definitely out for the whole year, right?
He is. And Sexton, I think, is gone for the year, too.
I think they're both gone for the year. That's tough.
It is.
I mean, you give up 2 guys like that can really, but they seem to be filling in now and still playing exciting basketball, doing a lot of fun things.
And
I like Memphis, but I think Memphis will probably be no less than a 3 or 4 seed.
Yeah. And I think if I'm the Memphis GM, and that guy seems like he knows what he's doing, so he doesn't need my advice, but I wouldn't throw all my. I've got this beautiful, nice young core that plays so well together, and I think right now they're ahead of expectations. And I'm not going to
I
do
think
any,
so too.
and I'm not going to try to get some trade away three of my young pieces for some vet to try and make a run right. Like this, I'm just going to let I've got a great chemistry on this team. I'm just going to let it play out and have patience. Like John Morant's not going anywhere. I got a couple more year window. I mean, obviously you never know with injuries, but I mean,
Hmm.
I don't want to say we saw it within Orlando with Dwight Howard. We saw it in Cleveland the first time with LeBron. Like you don't have to throw when you got the young guy. Like as much as you want to win, like don't give up, don't mortgage your future for one season on a older vet that you think is going to be the difference maker.
And you got to be working on making sure that John Morant becomes the guy when Russ re-signed with Oklahoma City and when Giannis re-signed with Milwaukee, that they're going to stay in the smaller market.
Yeah,
You got to do whatever you can to make that happen.
yeah. And then I was thinking, I mean, we'll end on the Embiid part, but I think right now you've got the Joker, you've got Luca, and you got Embiid, all playing MVP level basketball. But and you could argue that maybe Jokic has who he needs if Jamal Murray and Porter Jr. are healthy. But with the other guys, you have great players just starting in their prime, but they don't have anybody else to help them on their team.
No, and like we said, I mean, you've got Ben Simmons. Is he a great player? Is he a good player? Is he an average player? Depends on who he's with and what he's going to do. But I mean, you let him sit for a year. A year is a long time to not play.
It is. And you've got Embiid playing absolute, 50 points in 27 minutes the other day. He's playing at an absolute elite level right now, but he's already missed time in college with a foot and knee injury. He lost an entire year of his career to a knee injury. He's 7 feet tall. He's well over 250 pounds. You don't know how long you're going to have Joel Embiid in this position.
No, you don't.
And I know, James Harden has already taught, supposedly he's, put out into ether that he'd be willing to go to Philadelphia maybe in the offseason. But James Harden is no longer James Harden.
No.
He's still a very good player. All-star. He's got, and he's one of those guys. He's smart enough, his basketball IQ, and he's a good enough shooter that he can have a long career. He's not like Russ, or an Allen Iverson kind of guy. But I'm not holding all my chips in the James Harden. I mean, because, who knows? But I'm not wasting a year.
Next year, I care about this year.
Yeah. And my understanding is he's a free agent next year anyway. So
Right.
you get Tobias Harris off your books, you get Ben Simmons out of the way, bring in some assets right now, and worry about James Harden next year if he comes, when he comes. Because this isn't getting James Harden 3 years ago to pair with Joel Embiid. This is getting, a guy moving closer to his mid-30s who does not seem like he takes good care of his body in the offseason.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to do something. You got to make some movement.
And they are not doing that currently.
Well, I'll give my report on Kate Cunningham because I'm going to go see Kate Friday night. And then the following week, I'll give my report on Ja. So I'll be able to do some NBA coverage.
Nice. Very nice. Did we have any food moments this week for you?
Too many food moments this week. Oh, yes. We went to dinner at Casa Stan Stefano, and Mom and I split lobster linguine and grilled swordfish, and both of those entrees were phenomenal. I think I've talked about that restaurant before, but we were back there again to celebrate. It was really, really a great restaurant, and it's the owner of the Columbia, and all of his restaurants are outstanding.
Nice. Well, the closest I have is that Maria she got me a Cadbury cream egg, which are now back in season. And
Okay.
I love the Cadbury cream egg. I know a lot of people find them gross, but I think they're absolutely
You've
incredible.
always loved the Cadbury cream egg.
I have. It might be my favorite. I was thinking I do enjoy a good Reese's peanut butter cup. I was thinking of actual store candy. I think the Cadbury egg is my all-time favorite. I love that thing.
Okay. Oh, I do have an outstanding
Okay. DeFaro, right?
So you and I talked before about some of the pizzas on Goldbelly.
Yes.
In DeFera in Brooklyn, they had a Goldbelly had a 30% off free shipping on pizza. And so I went, and there's a video of the people at DeFera making the Sicilian pizza. And I watched the video, and I ordered a pizza. Now, I haven't eaten in the Neapolitan one yet. I'm going to eat that this afternoon.
Oh, nice.
But the Sicilian one, you have to cook it on your oven rack, which, the cheese will drip down and ruin your oven. But I got to tell you, for a pizza that came frozen and you put in your oven, it was absolutely delicious. It was phenomenal. The crust was great. The sauce was great. The combination of all the cheeses was great. It was for real. I would buy that in a heartbeat. And I think the next time I go to New York, I'm actually going to trek to Brooklyn and try it out live and in person.
Nice.
It was really, really good.
I would say, in my experience, obviously, having a couple years of pandemic and doing a lot more ordering out, I think if you go to Goldbelly, I think the consistency on the Sicilian and the Chicago and the thicker pizzas and the Detroit pizzas, I think translates better. It translates better than the thin pizza on the reheat or the heat or whatever this is called.
I agree. Because I bought the Calabria collection of the real thin crusts.
Yeah.
And I was not impressed at all.
No, when you get the thin...
I still got one in the freezer that I might never eat.
Yeah, when you get the thin ones, you can still taste that it's the quality of the ingredients and that it would be really good, but you're left thinking, I wish I had just gotten something else and waited till I was in this area to try it. Because I've tried the Columbia Inn ones, I've tried some different ones from there, and again, they're still good, but...
Yeah, they're not great, though. This was great.
Yeah, Sicilian, Detroit style, and Chicago style all translate really well to heating in your oven through Goldbelly after being frozen.
Well, and the DeFera said that they used a Sunday sauce, a heartier sauce for the Sicilian pizza, and it was awesome. The only criticism I would have is they gave you a bag of basil to cut up and put on the pizza.
Yeah.
And it got soggy, and so it was not good. But we went and bought our own basil. But they gave you imported Parmesan to put on it once you brought it out of the oven. I mean, it was set up to do a really nice thing.
Very nice.
So big time liking it. Entertainment, finished Yellow Jackets.
Loved it.
Couple of nice surprises.
Yeah. If you haven't watched this show, it's worth getting Showtime for a month or two. Because I think it's the water coolest show people are going to be talking about in a long time. And the creator said there's 4 or 5 seasons total. So.
I don't know if I could do 4 or 5 seasons of that. Doesn't Ozark start this week?
I think Ozark is back. I know this show isn't for everybody, but I absolutely love the show Search Party, which is its 5th and final season's on HBO right now. I would say the 5th season is by far the wackiest, most out there one. It even has Jeff Goldblum in it, so, if you're doing wacky and out there, he's usually a go-to guy. But it's a really fun show.
Okay.
And I think that's sadly it for my entertainment. Yeah. Nothing else really exciting. But enjoy the playoff games today.
Yes, they're going to be special. They're going to be really, really good.
And just get ready because we got AFC, NFC Championship game next week. Then we got Super Bowl coming up. NBA All-Star game. So we should have a lot to talk about. Again, thank you again for all our Patreon support. We love that. It helps us keep the lights on, as they say. And if you have, definitely hit us up. Either, you can leave us messages on YouTube. You can tweet at my dad. You can leave messages on the Patreon page if you have questions, you have things you want to talk about. If you want to come on the show, let us know. We can arrange that too. So, I guess until next week.
All right, everyone, have a great one. Enjoy the football.